draft tube discussion was held some time back. So where, why do we need a draft tube? The advantages of that. You keep the runner at some height, maybe 4 or 5 meters, not any amount of height, a limited amount of height, so that the runner can be kept higher and maybe inspection is easier without losing this head. Whatever height you raise, that will not be lost. Remember, draft tube is used in reaction turbines, and some of the reaction turbines like Kaplan turbines may work with heads even 10 meters. So there you can't just like that lift any height, and little bit of advantages you get by keeping it slightly higher can be utilized. Okay, then this draft tube also has an efficiency which is defined by the equation some C2 square minus C3 square by 2G minus the head loss in the draft tube divided by C2 square minus C3 square by 2G. So today we will do some calculations regarding this. So it's about a conical draft tube. See, there are different types of draft tubes which I have not discussed. You have rectangular type, conical, then bend type. Different types are there. Okay. So this is a simple conical type, conical draft tube. This is to illustrate some of the basic principles involved there. A conical draft tube having inlet and outlet diameters 2 meters and 2.5 meters discharges water at outlet with a velocity of 2.5 meters per second. Okay, the total length of the draft tube is 5 meters and 1 meter length of draft tube is submerged in water. If the atmospheric pressure head is 10.3 meters of water and loss of head due to friction in the draft tube is equal to 0.5 times the velocity head at the outlet of the draft tube, find the pressure head at turbine exit, efficiency of draft tube, and NPSH, net positive suction head. Assume vapor pressure head as 1 meter. Okay, so you have a draft tube, the height is given, it is submerged in water for 1 meter. Then the final velocity at exit, that is 2.5 meters per second. Now first you can calculate the head loss because it's not directly given, it is given as a fraction of the exit velocity head. Exit velocity head is C3 square by 2G. Okay. Excuse me. Urgent class எடுத்துட்டு இருக்கேன். Okay. Okay. So the velocity at turbine exit is C2 is equal to C3 into 2.5 square by 2. So that is 3.9 meters per second, the velocity. So this, how I got this is, see, it is proportional to the area ratio. So C2 into the corresponding area A2 should give me the discharge, which is equal to C3 into the corresponding area at 3. And the area is proportional to the square of the diameter, pi d square by 4. So I have directly taken the diameter ratios and computed the velocity at C2, which is 3.9 meters per second. Now to find pressure head at 2, so we know that the pressure head at 2 or the pressure at 2 is negative. If at all there is a small crack or hole here, atmospheric air will enter in and the function of the draft tube will be totally lost. This has to be always filled with water. There should not be air here. Okay, the pressure in this region is below atmospheric pressure, so that we can see. Now to find the pressure, this is the equation used. P2 by rho g is equal to the atmospheric pressure and the head Hs. See, Hs I have not indicated here, that is nothing but 5 minus 1. Okay, I should have marked here, plus the velocity differences. C2 square minus C3 square by 2g minus head loss 2 to 3. So this equation is there in the previous thing. Okay, this equation. So P2 by rho g, this equation is the one which we are talking about. So I substitute there, the atmospheric pressure head is 10.3 minus Hs, the height of the draft tube, that is above water, that is 4 meters. Then this kinetic energy difference, velocity head difference, minus the head loss from 2 to 3. Remember, head loss from 2 to 3 was given as a fraction of the velocity head at exit, 0.5 times C3 square by 2g. Okay, now okay, so that equation again it is written. So 10.3 minus 4 plus 3.9 square minus 2.5 square by 2 into 9.1 minus the head loss in the draft tube. So totally it amounts to 6 meters. So this 6 meters is the absolute pressure. The absolute atmospheric pressure is 0.3. So this is only 6. So what is the vacuum head here? What is the vacuum pressure head at
4 meters?
4
4
meters.
meters.
Okay. So 10.3 minus 6, that is around 4.3. So when I say zero vacuum, it is atmospheric pressure. Okay, not absolute vacuum. Zero vacuum means atmospheric pressure only. So as you go lower and lower, when you say vacuum of 10 meters, it is a very high vacuum. Now the next thing is efficiency of the draft tube. Efficiency, the equation is C2 square minus C3 square by 2g minus head loss between 2 to 3 divided by C2 square minus C3 square by 2g. So this C2 square minus C3 square by 2g is the pressure recovery due to change in kinetic energy. But out of that recovery, some pressure is lost. So that is how the idea of draft tube efficiency comes. How much is lost from the pressure recovered? So ideal pressure recovery is C2 square minus C3 square by 2g. Because of the head loss here, you have an efficiency which is less than 0.1. So finally, you get a value of 0.65. Now the last thing is about net positive suction head. We had seen this with respect to pumps. So here also we can find out. See, by definition, it is the absolute pressure at the location above the vapor pressure. Absolute total pressure. Okay, that means this PS should be not gauge pressure, it is absolute. Then this CS square by 2g, if I add that, this is the velocity head. So the total head minus the vapor pressure head PV by rho g. So this is how it is defined. Now from the atmospheric pressure acting on the surface, if I come to this value, it will be atmospheric pressure minus Hs. Here it is minus the head loss. Okay. Now what happens is, for the case of pumps, if you look back, this will be Hs plus HL. For turbines, it is minus HL, the head loss in the suction pipe or the draft tube. Then finally, this whole amount minus the vapor pressure head. Okay. So finally, you get the value 10.3 minus 4 minus 0.16 minus 1. Minus 1 is the vapor pressure head. See, vapor pressure head depends on the temperature. When the temperature is 100 degrees, vapor pressure head is 10 meters. Okay. it goes down as the temperature is less, and if the surrounding pressure is equal to vapor pressure head, the liquid will boil. Note that when the surrounding pressure is equal to the vapor pressure, the liquid will boil. So finally you get NPSH of turbine is as 5.46. Now here also there could be a required NPSH. When the available NPSH falls below the required one, the system will cavitate. Okay, and cavitation will cause unstable operation, loss of material or damage of material. Then it may create noise. Okay. Next, another small problem about Pelton turbine. Okay, but it is about the largest Pelton turbine installation in the world. So yesterday I think we have seen the largest installation of Kaplan turbine, then Francis turbine. See, Francis turbine, we found that single units have gone up to 700 megawatt. The installation we were talking about was the Three Gorges Dam power plant in China, where I think 32 turbines, all Francis turbines with 700 megawatt capacity are present. Okay, then about Kaplan turbine, there is an installation where the capacity is 250 megawatts. It is smaller. Okay, now this is about the Pelton turbine with capacity or power rating 450 megawatt. It is in Switzerland Alps. Okay, um, see Alps, famous place. You have the Swiss Alps, the Italian, then the Austrian Alps, and also a part of France. And there are 5 jets. The head on the turbine is 1900 meters. So 1900 meters means how many kilometers?
1.9.
1.9. And remember, I gave you the height of Kodaikanal and Ooty. Do you remember?
Kilometers.
Around 2 kilometers is the height. Okay, such high. If you have traveled, you would have seen how we are climbing that. So this Pelton turbine head is about 1.9 kilometers, and the turbine has 26 buckets. Speed of rotation is about 430 revolutions per minute. We can find out the specific speed per jet. That means we can calculate the power for one jet and calculate the specific speed and the jet diameter. Assume an overall efficiency of 90%. See, this overall efficiency, and from the power you can calculate the discharge. Okay, power is equal to overall efficiency into rho g QH. So from that equation we get this, and we find that the discharge is 26.8 meter cube per second. So discharge per jet is 26.8 divided by the number of jets. That amounts to 5.3 meter cube per second. Now diameter of jet, you have the basic discharge equation. Discharge is equal to area into the velocity of the jet. So from where we get the velocity of jet? So we want the diameter of jet, so we should know q jet, which we have calculated. Then the velocity of jet we can calculate from this equation, Cv into root 2 gh. It comes to around 191 meters per second. Okay, so this jet velocity Cj is equal to Cv into root of 2 gh. So substitute head there, 1900 meters. You get a velocity of 191 meters per second. Okay, now to get the diameter of the jet, you get the expression from the previous equation. So diameter of jet will be square root of 4q divided by pi into Cj. So if you substitute the value of Qj there, Qj value is 5.365. The jet diameter is around 0.189 meters. So around 200 millimeter or 20 centimeters. Okay, so what is the jet velocity? Around 200 meters per second. Very high velocity. Oh, if you calculate the equivalent kilometers per hour, okay, see 10 meters per second is 36 kilometers per hour. So 100 meters per second should be 360 kilometers per hour. So around 200 meters per second means 720 kilometers per second. Is it not a high velocity? Okay. So some of the smaller aircraft fly in that speed only. Okay, very high speed. Now, specific speed of one jet. So NST is equal to n into root P jet by h power 5 by 4. So n is 430 rpm. Square root of P jet. P jet is 450 by 5 because the number of jets are 5. Total power is 450. Number of jets is 5. So the power for one jet is 450 by 5 divided by the head power 1.25. 5 by 4 is 1.25. So we get 10.3. Now, in addition, you can calculate the wheel diameter to jet ratio m. So that is 4.6, the diameter of the wheel, divided by the jet diameter around 0.2. So it is around 23. Now, number of blades, is given as a function of m, 15 plus 0.5 m. So 15 plus 0.5 into 24 I have used, so that 12, and finally it comes to around 27. The actual number of buckets used is 26. Okay. So I think the hydro turbo we may close by this. Next part is thermal, and we'll see something of wind turbines today. Okay, some insight into wind power. So wind is air in motion. Okay. So it has a direction, it has a magnitude, there is variation with height. Usually from the Earth's surface, as we go higher, the wind velocity will go on increasing. Okay, maybe up to 100 or 200 meters or 400 meters. Now the bottommost portion, the velocity is less because of the so-called boundary layer. So as air flows over the surface of Earth, boundary layer is created, and we all know that in the boundary layer the velocity is less. In fact, the definition of boundary layer is the layer closest to the surface where the relative velocity varies from 0 to 99%. Okay, so with respect to the surface, what is the relative velocity? Now what causes wind? Okay, so many answers could be there, because wind itself is part of weather, and when you talk about weather, we say that it is unpredictable. So wind also, in many cases it is like that, but there may be some regularity because wind turbines are kept in places where there is a regular wind. But over that, there may be some unusual happenings. Hurricanes are there, cyclones are there. That time the wind pattern will change. The global contribution of wind energy, it's mentioned, is around 5%. It's a very large amount. Okay, so these wind turbines, when there are many in a region, you call it a wind farm. Okay, see, farm is a word most commonly used in agriculture. So here also harvesting of energy, you say wind farm. So you may find wind farms on land that we say onshore or offshore. See, offshore means very close to the shore. Okay, not very far away where the depths are, 500 or 1000 meters, not like that. Maybe places where the depth of water may be about 25 meters, 30 or 40, maybe less than 100 meters. Okay, so such places, offshore, the quality of wind is better, they say, because not much of obstruction from the land. So the quality, they say, is better, and people prefer that. And you don't encroach on land which can be used for other purposes. Now the basic equation for wind power is P equal to Cp into half rho V cube. Cp into half rho A V cube, where Cp is the power coefficient. One may get values 0.25, 0.45. Any doubt? Hello, me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the uh, power coefficient, the upper limit is 16/27. It's called the Betz limit. If you convert it into decimals, you get 0.59, around 0.6. Now, this limit, how it comes is, see, the kinetic energy available is, specific kinetic energy is half rho V square. Okay. Total kinetic energy is m dot into half rho V square. M dot is rho A V. Okay. So m dot into half rho V square. If you substitute m dot, you get immediately this equation. Power is equal to half rho A V cube. But you cannot harvest all this energy. See, after giving the energy, if the air comes to rest, the system will not work. The air has to move away with some velocity, and along with that kinetic energy it will carry. Okay, and from experience it is seen that, see, initially if the velocity is 10 meters per second, immediately afterwards maybe it will reduce to about say 6 or 5 meters per second. Then again, to become 10 meters per second, you need a distance of 8 times the diameters downstream. Okay, if the rotor diameter is 100 meters, how much downstream you can put the next turbine? Can someone tell me?
800 meters.
800 meters, because just after the wind turbine, the velocity will decrease. Then it regains the energy. From where it will regain?
From the atmosphere.
From the atmosphere, from the neighboring energy of a stream of air. Okay, so the whole thing, maybe if so many wind turbines are there, and on the downstream we can find out. See, because the wind, initially in a large area it comes, area of cross section, it has some kinetic energy. Okay, and maybe for 5 kilometers you have wind farm, and in the 5 kilometer, is there any additional wind energy added? Is there any addition of kinetic energy? Okay, one has to think about it. I feel it is not there. It initially enters a region with so much of kinetic energy, and additional. See, we have to really think about what causes wind and where the energy comes. It all will finally amount to energy taken from sun in some form or other. Okay, I'm not fully thought about that. I'm not going into it now. the maximum rotor diameter people have gone is about 200 meters. Okay, so you have the wind tunnel, you have the windmill equipment, housed inside a casing, and the whole thing is called the nacelle. Nacelle, nacelle. This nacelle will have the gearbox, the generator, then the brake assembly, and some more things. So this you have to keep at a particular height. Remember, wind turbines, basically you may say that horizontal axis is there, vertical axis is there. But most of these wind turbines are horizontal axis only. Okay, not vertical axis. Vertical axis, some small tunnels might be there, windmills will be there somewhere. This most of these wind turbines are horizontal axis, and the axis orientation can be changed. Yawing is done. Separate motor is used for that. So you have to sense the direction of the wind and change accordingly. So this nacelle, the internal windmill equipment, that will be kept at a large height. Maybe people have gone up to 150 meters. So 150 meters means really very, very high. Okay. So at that height, this nacelle weight may be 500 tons. So you have to, keep that there. And it is said that in some of these nacelle assembly, there may be a platform for the landing of helicopter. Okay, maybe initial erection they might be using it up. So it will be very large. 500 ton means, remember, uh, the ordinary cars, the weight is only 1 ton. So it is something like 500 cars. Okay, the smallest Maruti 800 is about 600 kg only. Other cars, decent cars will have 1 ton or 1.1 or 1.2 tons. So this nacelle, which is kept at 150 meters height and having a weight of about 500 tons. So this assembly and everything is a difficult thing. The power, they have gone up to about 15 megawatt. Some details say that it is 16 megawatt, but definitely they have, I think, erected up to about 14, and people have settled on number of blades 3. Okay, not less, not more. Very interesting discussions about this you can find in net. See, because earlier you had the low speed uh, windmills erected in Denmark and say the Dutch or the Netherlands, all had only they had 4. On the other side, there were some high speed wind turbines with 2. Okay, so now people have settled on 3, and one important parameter is the tip speed ratio. Okay, so the diameter is there, the RPM is there. You can find out the tip speed, pi dn by 60. So tip speed divided by the wind speed is called the tip speed ratio. So it is given that the tip speed ratio may be around 7 to 8. Okay, so when the say wind speed, the wind speeds used is around 10 to 16 meters per second. So one may ask, if the wind speed is 20 meters per second, what do you do? Okay, why not use that power? See, one is, see, systems are designed for a particular speed. Higher the speed, the other inertial forces, centrifugal forces, everything will be more, and the system cannot withstand. Then how this speed is controlled is, you have in the nacelle assembly a brake assembly which will take care of that. In extreme cases, it may totally stop it. Okay, when some cyclone is passing over that, it must stop. Otherwise, it will regulate the speed by braking. Okay, and another thing is, the power, as you say, is proportional to the third power of velocity. So between 10 and 16, the power will increase 4 times. Can you guess how I got this 4? Anybody? Are you able
1.6
to?
cube.
Pardon?
1.6 cube or approximate.
1.6 cube. If you find out that, it is around 4. So suppose there is a wind turbine, if it produces 10 megawatt, or it is designed for 10 meters per second, 10 megawatt, at 16 meters per second, it should produce how much? Ten into 4, 40 megawatts. It may not have that capacity. Other problems could be there. So all will be well regulated. Okay. Now, next thing is about some of the well, why people go for higher and larger wind turbines. So should we struggle to go, so high, 200 meters, 300 meters, there is no end to it, and larger means rotor diameters 200, 300, 400 like that. Why we go like that?
Because wind speed variation at an height will be less than what we'll experience it on closer to the ground.
Yeah, you go higher. Then why larger?
More the area, more the power.
Yeah, or I will put it like this. As you said, higher and higher, maybe we have stable, high velocity wind available. Then having reached that height, you don't try to make a small rotor of 10-meter diameter. Just imagine some pole and a 10-meter this thing. So having thought about putting something that height, proportionate, the sense of proportion, even in engineering things. So at that height, you try to build a big structure, correspondingly the diameter also will be more. Okay, that is the reason why higher and this thing. Anyhow, good answer you gave. And now lastly, we will think of the top manufacturers in the world. See, the first one is Vestas. They are, I think, headquartered in Denmark. And as I told you, traditionally, Denmark and Netherlands, they had been using number of windmills, they were called, maybe from 13th or 12th century, because very early this thing, novels are there about wind mills. Okay, so they were using, but with simple material, not very high, must be used for some grinding of something or something like that. So Vestas headquartered in Denmark. The second one is Siemens Gamesa. It is in Spain. Okay, and now Siemens basically is from Germany. Okay, so this Gamesa must be in Spain, and they have merged. Okay, and all these companies will have manufacturing facilities not only in the headquarters, in many other places they will have. They are all global. The third one is Goldwind. It's in Beijing, China. And the last one is General Electric. See, General Electric basically from US. Now this particular unit headquarters is in Boston. And as I told you, all of them will have manufacturing and design divisions in various parts of the world. Now, as I initially told, the contribution has gone up to 5%, and in India also there are so many, wind farms. There are a lot of advantages. Okay, any basic questions you would like to ask regarding this?
So, how does the minimum RPM of 20 come, or how is that designated?
See, this minimum RPM should be for the largest one. Okay. Now, if you estimate the tip speed for 20, that must give you a value corresponding to the tip speed ratio. Okay. See, in turbo machinery, this tip speed is a very, very important consideration. So many things happen when the tip speed goes beyond a particular value, and even centrifugal forces, everything will come. Okay, so this 20 as such, they are using now. Now for this maximum rotor dia 200 meters, you try to calculate and find out. It must be that. Okay, there are wind turbines with 60 RPM also, or even more. Okay, they will be smaller and smaller. For example, you might have seen one on the terrace of electrical building. I think it was working when you were in first year, second years. Have you seen
Yes,
that?
sir. Yes, sir.
Did you notice the speed there?
I didn't count, but yeah, around
20?
40 or something.
Much more. And there was one in that energy center. I think some of you might have done some experiments, because earlier for first year some energy lab or something was there. That used to run at very high speed. All these machines were imported only. So when it is very small, the tip speed also will be tip speed. This subject to this consideration, 7 to 8. So from that you arrive. Any other question?
Yeah, so one more thing. So in these windmills with very big diameter, because of no slip at the ground, is there any significant difference between velocity at bottom and top for wind speed? Or is it insignificant?
That's what they say. Velocity variation, the grade, little bit is there. As you go higher, it is there. I have not really quantified that, how much velocity difference could be there. So that will cause some sort of varying forces and all those things. Any variable force means we know leads to some fatigue and all those things, but not much. See, density variation also they say. Whether it is very, very significant or not, I don't know.
Okay.
Anybody in this group has gone up the windmill, the wind turbine to the nacelle? Anybody experienced that? Okay. Anyhow, from NIT mechanical department, somewhere around, I think 95 or even I think before that, around 91, 92, at the time somebody was Professor Mohammed was HOD. We went to a place near Tirunelveli and in southern Tamil Nadu. Must have been some 30 or 40 meters only, I think, not more. The nacelle height. We climbed up, we saw that, and I think it was not even 1 megawatt, maybe 500 kilowatt. But compared to that, some 30-40 meters. Now, when you think of a height like 150, things are very, very different. The structure involved. See, there are two types. One they say is the column, the shell type. From near our NIT Trichy, some manufacturers do that column business, and you can see the white color painted things moving in trucks. Okay, so they construct here. So very large ones. Okay, any other question? So I think I'll close the session. Then Monday onwards or next week we will get into thermal turbo machines. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, sir.